Story time! Okay guys, I'm not the type to get sick at all. I get sick like once or twice a year. But because I don't get sick, that one time that I do get sick, it's really bad. So this situation happened when I was 13 and it was February. And because you guys don't know this either, for some reason, ever since I was 10 years old, something bad always happens to me the first 3 weeks of February. So like I said, I was 13 when this happened. I was sick and I remember I got up one morning, got ready for school, and my mom took me. When we got to the school, my mom was like, "Are you sure you want to go?" And I was like, "No, to be honest, I really don't want to go to school." So she was just like, "Okay, well, let me go talk to the front lady because they already called me saying that they were going to send you to court if you miss school again." We went inside and my mom was talking to the front lady and she obviously seen that I was sick. So she told my mom, she was like, "Okay, I'll let Stephanie miss one more day, but after that she can't anymore because she's going to get sent to court." And my mom was like, "Okay, thank you. I'll make sure she doesn't miss school anymore." After that, we left the school and my mom had a few things to do. So she was like, "You're just going to come with me." So our first stop was this healthcare place. We walked into the building and there was a lot of people there, so we got into the line. And as I'm standing there, I got really hot. It literally felt like someone put me in an oven and then my head started hurting. And then about 3 seconds after that happened, I noticed that I was bleeding from the left side of my nose. So I told my mom I'll be right back.
This is why you should always lock your front doors. A kid living with both of his parents decided to watch a movie for their family weekly movie night. He then gets up to use the restroom. As he is in the restroom, he sees all of the power in the house cuts off, and then he hears 2 loud thumps. He locks the bathroom door and hears heavy objects being dragged across the hallway. The kid, freaking out, runs out of the bathroom and runs into the restroom. Once he is inside the room, he locks the door. As he locks the door, he jumps in bed and acts like he's asleep in hopes that this person who is in the house will ignore a child sleeping. He closes his eyes and hears the door creak at the same time. He squints his eyes and sees a man with no eyes dragging the bodies of both of his parents. The man dragging his parents sits his mom's dead body in a chair facing him, and then sets the dad's body on the floor facing up. It was almost like whoever was in the house who killed them wanted him to see it. He then sees the man writing something on the wall and then climbs under his bed. He laid there for hours knowing that if he moved a muscle, he would end up just like his parents. He finally built up enough courage to read the wall, and the writing on the wall said, "I know you're awake."
So for the first time in a really long time, I actually had something scary happen to me last night. So I was up really late because my boyfriend's in Vegas and their time difference is 2 hours behind. And he goes to bed really late. So for the past few days, I've been staying up till 4 a.m. until he falls asleep. So last night I decided I wanted to get some food, a late night snack. And at this point, I think it's like 2 a.m. And in my basement, I hear some rumbling and fumbling, but nobody's down there. Everybody's asleep. I don't have any pets. My dog's dead. I don't have any pets. So I'm in the kitchen listening, and my kitchen is right here, and like the stairs to the basement is right there, and like my house is low-key empty, so you could hear everything. And I start hearing little whispers, a little. So I'm sitting there eating my snack, and I hear that shit, and I pause the YouTube video I was watching, and I start hearing footsteps come upstairs. So I sat.
This story was submitted to me by a follower who would like to remain anonymous. When I was 14, I had a best friend named Lucy, and we had one of those friendships where we were really close really quickly, which I now know is a red flag and usually a sign of a toxic friendship. But I was too young to know this then. Our favorite thing to do together was hang out at the mall. Our parents would let us go alone as long as we abided to one rule. We had to stay together at all times, and we were always pretty good about that. One night we were having a sleepover at Lucy's house and her Uncle Mike came over for dinner. Uncle Mike was pretty loud and goofy. He showed us like 8 magic tricks that night. I liked him. He was fun. But as I was helping clear dishes after dinner, I overheard Mike and Lucy's mom having a hushed conversation in the kitchen. She was like, "You've had too much to drink. Why don't you just spend the night?" So Mike ended up sleeping over that night too. Right before going to sleep, Lucy's mom came into the bedroom, and she told us to remember to shut the bedroom door before falling asleep. When I asked Lucy why she said that, Lucy just shrugged and said, "I don't know." But we made sure the bedroom door was shut just like she asked. In the middle of the night, I woke up to the feeling of someone tickling my feet.
Story time about why I beat up my best friend. So a little background information. Her and I had been best friends since we were in 7th grade. Her family was rich, mine was poor, and at first she was a really good friend. She was always there for me whenever I needed her, until our freshman year of high school, which is when her and I started hanging out with boys. Now, my mom was kind of strict. She wouldn't really let me hang out with boys, but her mom was more lenient about her hanging out with boys. Every weekend, she would throw a party at her house, and she would throw them in her attic because 1, it was huge, and 2, her parents didn't give a f she did up there. Anyways, she would always offer to do my hair and makeup before the party started, which always made me really excited because I never really put any work into my physical appearance. Well, little did I know, the only reason why she would offer to do my hair and makeup at these parties was so that way she could make me look like shit of all the boys. So after that, I taught myself how to do my own makeup and do my own hair, like for part 2.
Story time! Okay, so when I was in school one day, it was lunchtime. I was sitting at the table with all of my friends, but then I had to use the bathroom, and to leave the cafeteria, you have to ask one of the lunch monitors. Now, most of the time, I didn't even have to use the bathroom in the first place. I was just bored and trying to leave the cafeteria. So the lunch monitors let me go, and it was about a 2-minute walk from the cafeteria to the bathrooms in my school. My school had 2 floors, and there were 3 different stairwells on the 2nd floor where I was. So I started walking, and I was about halfway to the bathroom when all of a sudden, the code red alarm went off. This code meant that there was an intruder in the building. The lights in the hallway shut off, and I couldn't see anything but a faint light coming from the cafeteria. There were no windows or anything, so it was pitch black. That's when I ran to the cafeteria and I tried opening the doors, but they were locked. So then I tried running through the hallways to see if I could open one of the classroom doors, but since it was lunchtime, most of the teachers leave the school and lock their doors until they get back. So I started running in the dark and I ran into a set of lockers and I fell. And I could tell I was bleeding, but that didn't matter because I didn't know if the school intruder had come up the stairs yet. So then I saw an exit sign glowing in red. And I knew that it was right next to one of the stairwells, so I ran towards it and turned the corner. And I also knew that the bathrooms were down this hall.
Storytime about how I got revenge on my 7th grade bully. When I was in 7th grade, there was this one boy that would not stop picking on me. He would pour all of my stuff out of my bag, cut my hair, push me in the hallways, spill my drinks and snacks, plus many other annoying and embarrassing things. One day, he decided he was going to pour a bucket of fruit punch on top of me. I was wearing an expensive, mostly white outfit. This was because it was picture day and I wanted to look nice. I ended up having to go take pictures with messed up hair and clothing, then got chewed out by my father when I got home. I was grounded for a month because my parents were strict and they didn't want to listen to my story. The next day, I was sitting in math class when my principal walked and sat down on a chair to supervise the class. My principal sat down his things and went into the hallway to talk to my teacher. I grabbed his computer and put it in my bag. Everyone was too busy with their groups to notice. The bell rang shortly after, and while everyone went to lunch, I went to my locker and opened the principal's computer. I quickly searched up different websites and then put the computer in my bully's locker. I knew the code because my locker is right next to his and he's always asking someone to help him open it. I rushed to the cafeteria and saw that my principal was still talking to my teacher, so he didn't know it was missing yet. Next period, everyone was getting questioned.
Anonymous story time. The first and last time I did this girl's nails, she came in with 2 of her friends. One of her friends started touching my things and kind of snooping around. From the corner of my eye, I seen her touch her purse. She would turn around to look at her friends and say, "Oh my god, look at this color, it's so pretty." She then walked over to the coat rack where my purse was hanging. She started saying, "Wow, it's getting really warm in here. Do you mind turning down the heater just a little bit, please?" I was like, "Oh yeah, give me a minute," and I walked out of the room. I heard her say pretty loud, "I'm gonna take off my sweater." When I come back, they're all acting really weird. I'm trying to finish this girl's nails and I overhear one of the friends whisper to the other friend, "Just put it all back." I am so stupid for thinking these girls would not steal from me. I finish up the girl's nails, she pays me, thanks me, says how much she loves them, and then they all walk out. As I'm cleaning up, I start counting my money and I realize that the $100 bill she gave me says play money. Then I notice I have gels and glitters missing. I look everywhere and realize this bitch took my shit. I check my purse and all my cash is missing. I tried to contact the girl and I'm blocked.
Extremely toxic best friend story time. So when I was in 8th grade, there was this boy. And this boy would go around telling almost every girl that he liked her. And I was one of those girls. And he would do stuff with all of us. And there were like 11 of us. So we all hated each other. Especially this one girl, and we're gonna call her Abby. And every time we saw each other, we would be super mean to each other. Well, a year passed, we stopped talking to this kid. And I bumped into her at homecoming and basically apologized. So after that, we became best friends. And everything was good until every time I told her about a guy, she would start talking to them. Like this one boy that I was Snapchatting and talking to, she accidentally sent nudes to him and said, "Oh, sorry, I meant to send them to my boyfriend." So then she called one of my other best friends and said, "No, it actually wasn't an accident." And of course he told me because he was my best friend. So I was like, whatever, and stopped talking to the boy. And she did it again, like for part 2.
Story time about the time my supposed friends tried to pull up to fight me. So I had just got off of work and picked up my kids from daycare and I heard my doorbell ring. So of course I looked through the people and I see 3 of my friends, so I opened up the door. Soon as I open the door, all I hear is, "I heard you this and that." And I'm confused, so I'm like, hold up, what's going on? What you not about to do is come to my door with this bullshit after I done worked all day. So I closed my door and went to change my clothes. So when I was finished, I told my supposed friends, hold on, I gotta go pick my mama up from work because I was using her car. And what I wasn't about to do is have my mama wait while I beat her bitch up. Yup. So I left to go pick my mama up, and when she got in the car, I just ran into her about everything that was going on, and I just told her, no disrespect to you, but I'm not about to let nobody come to my house talking crazy to me and think they gonna get a pass. Like, one thing about me, I ain't no punk. You ain't about to play with me. So when we made it home, tell me why these bitches was still waiting outside my house. If y'all want to know what happened after this, let me know if y'all want me to post part 2.
Okay, it's time for another creepy story time. My parents had me in their early 20s and ended up getting divorced when I was less than a year old. I often spent the night at my grandma's house on my mum's side since my mum didn't have much money at the time. I don't remember this happening, but my mother and grandmother tell me the story like it was yesterday. When I was really little, I would come out of my room and tell everyone that there was a lady that stood over my crib at night and watched me sleep. Since I was so little, everyone thought I was just making up stories and it was my imagination or I was just dreaming. This continued on for months, and one day my mum and grandma were looking through a photo book, and as they were just flipping through the pages, she lands on a photo of my dad's mum, my other grandma, and I pointed right to her and said, "That's the lady that stands over my crib at night." I had never met her, and she died years before I was born.
Don't open your eyes. On the last day of every month, close the blinds or curtains before you sleep. If in the middle of the night you hear a tapping noise at your window, don't open your eyes. If you're one of the unlucky ones, you'll hear the pebble sound at your window. It's not a friend, just keep your eyes shut. The sound will get louder, the tapping will get faster and faster. Don't let your curiosity get the better of you. Don't move. It'll lose its patience, it'll start thumping the window. Your window will shake and shudder and the noises will only get louder. It will furiously pound the window and shake the panes. Don't worry, the window won't break, but for goodness sake, don't open your eyes. No matter how scared you are, no matter how badly you want to scream, pretend you don't hear, pretend you're still asleep. After a while, the noises will stop. Don't fall for it, keep your eyes shut. Try to sleep if you can. Don't get up, don't open your eyes until the sun comes up. Those who do open their eyes, well, no one really knows what happens.
This is why you should always watch videos to the end. In 2003, a woman came home to her apartment to see that her door was unlocked. She went inside, nothing was missing, so she assumed she must have left it open. When it happened a few more times, but still nothing was missing in her apartment, she went out and got a camera, set it up in her apartment aimed at the front door. The next day, her door was unlocked, so she reviewed the footage. She watches in horror as late in the night, her front door opens and in walks this tall, creepy man who looks around and then walks towards her bedroom off camera. She immediately sprints out of her apartment and calls the police, who show up and tell her to go back in her apartment and just try to stay calm, and that they would put an officer right outside her door so she's safe. As she's sitting on the bed, totally traumatized, she realizes something. She only saw him enter her apartment on that video. She doesn't know if he actually left. As she's sitting there, she feels breathing on her